Well, we made it home from York again. Though this time around, the wallet was not quite as safe. But it could have been much worse if the ATMs had not been out of cash or without power. Either way, I'm pretty happy with what we came home with this time around. And with this being our second York, we had many faces to look forward to seeing and spending time with again. Between filming, chatting, and eventually shopping, we ended up leaving at closing time on all but the final day. At that point, we were pretty worn out, so it was nice to sit in the car for a number of hours on the drive home. Speaking of that, we ended up stopping overnight just outside the Cornerfield Model Railway Museum, as planned, where we stopped in the next day right as the doors opened at noon. We had an absolutely fantastic time chatting with Tom and his family about the layout and the history of it before heading back to see the famous room itself. They also gave us very rare permission to film the entire layout for use in one of my upcoming videos. Make sure you're subscribed for when that one drops, which will likely be after our family vacation next week. While at Cornerfield, I was able to snag what I'm calling as one of my honorary York Haul items, since it happened during the trip, but not actually at the fairgrounds. I picked up a bunch of Gargraves tracks, specifically 20 straight track sections, because the price that he had them for, I couldn't beat. It was much lower than anything else that I've seen around. Now, if you don't know, Cornerfield does have a store at the entrance of their layout, and it's really worth checking out. The prices are very reasonable, and sometimes a little lower than that. The other honorary item that we picked up was this United 93 mug from the United 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, which was on our drive-in from Chicago. As some of you know, back during the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, I was a firefighter and ended up taking part in search and rescue efforts at Ground Zero for 28 days. Kind of shows my age. So for me, this was a great find, and it's on our list for a return visit for our next York trip, but this time we're going to allocate several more hours since it's a much larger memorial than we ever expected. Okay, with the honorary items out of the way, we can get on to the actual York Haul goods, which are larger bottles of JT's Vegas-Steam. The big problem that we have at my layout is that it takes an entire small bottle of fluid to fill every engine on the layout if we plan to have smoke going in all of them. This may seem like quite a lot, and it is, but you have to consider the large engines like the Big Boy have 4 smoke units each, and even some of my non-Vision Line engines like the Veranda have 2 smoke units. So because of this, it was on my list to get our noses over all the larger bottles of fluid and snag a few that we like. Well, more so what Jen likes most, because the more enjoyable it smells to her, the more I could fill the entire basement up with smoke. These 3 bottles are what we ended up with. Christmas pine, which I think we're going to use around the Christmas tree. Cinnamon roll, because it smells like Cinnabon in here when I have it going. And then Apple Harvest has that fall smell that she likes. Alright, next up on the list is a 24-foot water tower kit that I got from Bob at Altoona Model Works. This one I'm really excited about. Ever since Chris Montagna from Chris's Trains and Things posted his very detailed roundhouse videos, I've been wanting to see the Altoona stuff in person. And let me tell you, if you haven't seen it, it's far from disappointing. And to Chris's credit, it's hard to tell the difference between what he made in his videos and what Bob built himself, which says a lot because this isn't very easy. It's tedious work, but it's an acquired taste. As I said in a previous video, even Jen was highly impressed with these models, but these things take a good amount of skill and talent to end up with the level of product that we all want on our layout. You can get them built by Bob very well, but for me, I enjoy the cost savings and the process of building things myself. After long discussions with Bob, we decided to start with this water tank and work my way up to the roundhouse over time. I do have an extensive history working with wooden models, especially planes that I would later fly and crash and then rebuild. But this was some time ago, so it's smart to start small, and after all, the more items I build, the more I'll have for the layout. The plan for now is to pick up at least 1 item a year from Bob, unless for some reason these builds goes really smooth, then I'll order something from him. Okay, the next item in the York Haul is quite the stack itself. While filming in the Blue Hall, Jen was doing some shopping herself, and yes, I know how fortunate I am to be able to say that. And she came across the vendor in the middle of the hall that sells wall flats. I'm sure all of you have seen them. Many of you know I've been struggling since completing this new layout table. By the way, the video of the construction of this table itself will be coming out soon, so make sure you're subscribed. The thing is, I now have this 17-foot by 23-foot L-shaped table. That's pretty decent, but I had not thought about what I wanted to do with it. I know I wanted a Western theme dominated with Union Pacific and Burlington Northern engines that I have, but that's as far as I've gotten. It really started bothering me that it's just a flat table with a bunch of track all over it. Fortunately, that's finally changed with not only the decision to proceed with models from Altoona, but I finally have a bunch of flats to cover the walls along the ends of the table. Now I know these things are not ultra prototypical, but it's more enjoyable than a white wall while filming or just enjoying the layout. And thinking this through, as we upgrade from these flats, we'll likely move them over to the countertops on the side of the train room to keep the theme going throughout. So without further ado, here they are, from smallest to largest. I don't know if I'll be able to get them all out of here. There's a lot. And it keeps going. This is not the order they're going to go on the layout at all. This is just me putting them out there. And it was actually something fun to do for both Jen and I, because she helped pick out a bunch of them as well. And I expected her to not care anything about any of this. Here's the second to last one. And the final one is little GE factory. So pretty cool. I love them. I can't wait to get them over there. One of the things that you'll notice with all of these is I wanted to stick to the loading dock theme along the wall, because that's where my freight cars are going to run. And then the center of the track would be passenger depots and passenger trains, and I'll make the depots from Altoona Model Works kits. They have several that I like there, and I couldn't decide which one, but after heading to the Lower Susquehanna Modular Rail Club, I saw their setup with multiple rail stations along the center of the track, and it further supported that idea. I'll just get them all. Just put one at each end of the table, or each corner of the table, and have just a little passenger rail thing going on. Big thanks again to Chris's Trains and Things for sending us over there to check out the layout. It's beautiful. I got some great ideas and met some really great people that also helped me troubleshoot my triplex, which was awesome. Finally, the big ticket item that was not actually on my list, but for some reason, all of its brother and sister engines were on the list. This particular item I had seen on day 2 and was really interested in it. His asking price was very reasonable, but I held off to think it over until the next day. And either way, the ATMs were down, so I couldn't get enough cash anyways because I already spent it on everything else that you see here. That night we ended up heading out to the Choo Choo Barn to check out their layout in the store, which are both pretty nice. While at the store they had the same exact engine as this for 3 times the price. I get it, it's new versus used. I understand that. Naturally, the first thought was, what's wrong with the one over in the blue hall? Why is it so much cheaper? So we thought about it some more, and after filming the other halls on day 3, we headed back over to see if this engine was still there. And it was. Fantastic. I asked Tony, the owner of it, if he would allow us to run it on the test track. And it ran perfectly. It looked great, it smoked great, it smelled great, it sounded great, and almost no notable wear on any of the wheels or the rollers. And right at that moment, I got a notification that all of you got me to 1,000 subscribers. So naturally, it just seemed fitting to pull the trigger since everything else seemed to be in working order. I can't tell you just how excited I was for that sequence of events to play out the way it did. All right, you probably want to know what's in the box. Well, it's the Union Pacific propane turbine electric locomotive. I had every other turbine locomotive on my list except this one. I already owned the Generation 2 gas turbine electric locomotive, the Veranda, and on my list was the Gen 1, the Gen 3, and the coal version. But this one was so short-lived, and for some reason, I never put it on my list. But I have the actual goal of collecting every single one of these. So while I didn't see any of the others, well, in acceptable condition to purchase at least, I did end up with one of the 5, and I'm super excited about it. Another notable mention is that this is my first MTH Premier engine. And actually, it's my first non-Lionel engine of any type. And with the WTIU hitting the streets, this finally opens up my layout to the world of MTH and Atlas and more, which is pretty exciting. And exactly why I started my York video series out with an intro from Rich Foster. All in all, I can't say enough about attending the Fall York show. It was hyped up quite a bit by all the people I saw at the spring show. So we took a shot at hitting 2 Yorks in 1 year. You may hear people comment about how this is a dying hobby. I've seen it all in my comments this week from people that weren't there, but it's far from that. The part that they remember from years past may have died off, and maybe they don't want to adapt to what the hobby has become today. I understand that. Or maybe they themselves are just dead inside. I don't know. But the hobby is not. And for all of us, especially the content creators and the club members that are all around my age or even younger, it was very clear we're all still enjoying every part that this hobby has to offer. Now keep in mind, this is coming from the person that has a few out-of-box failure videos up on his channel. Yes, those things do take away from this hobby slightly, just like any other hobby that would happen to. But watching so many people come together this weekend with me and try to resolve that issue on my triplex, it's amazing. And such an enjoyable time over a less than enjoyable situation. And on that note, stay tuned for a triplex wheel spin update coming this week. And let me say that I just recorded mine a few minutes ago having the wheel spin issue while the engine is in Bluetooth mode. Switched over to BLE side, not 4D mode. Other people are experiencing this issue only in 4D mode, and that is not the case for me. It doesn't matter where I move the switch, I'm experiencing the same problem. And I'll put a video out hopefully later this week. We're going on a cruise for 7 days. I may not get the video out before the cruise, I'm gonna try. But either way, the video's coming showing the switches in BLE mode while the wheels are out of sequence. I have no doubt that the videos other people have posted is true for them and the issue that they're experiencing. But with the amount of people that worked on my engine and tried things this weekend, there's been a lot of eyes on them, and other people are also experiencing the same thing as me. So I think it's a larger issue than just an isolated case of one problem. Either way, there is a problem. Everybody will agree with that. Even some very talented and educated people like Sean's Train Depot, he posted one of the videos where it was switch related. And I have no doubt that he's experiencing that and he's able to duplicate it. I tried to follow the same sequence after texting him on his phone and finding out what he did, and I can't duplicate that on mine. Because when I move the switch, the issue doesn't change. Again, that video will be coming later. Right now it's about what I think is a great York haul for myself and for my layout, and I look forward to putting all this up and getting the next set of videos out for you. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate you all.